And that'll do it here in Indy as the Colts pick up their first win of the season, avoiding an 0-3 start.
And that's the biggest thing. They avoid 0-3. Their playoff chances increased by 20-something percent.
And that audio is courtesy of CBS, the NFL on CBS, as the Chicago Bears fall to the Indianapolis Colts 21-16. Their record now 1-2. We are breaking it down here on the Sports Cubicle, here on Sports from the Couch. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you all so much for making us a part of your day. And it was a frustrating game. There were some good, mostly bad, and a lot of things to be taken from in this game against the Colts. And I've seen a lot of different tweets on X. I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook, on Instagram, videos on YouTube of fans and pundits and experts going all over the place, all over the spectrum on what we saw in this matchup between the Bears and Colts. So I think on this week 3 matchup post-game show, I wanted to really more ask questions that I had. You know, I have the notebook is out, boys and girls. Uncle Mike here is making sure that he is taking notes and has questions, because this season has taken a couple turns within each game, let alone the entire outlook of this season. So before we get to that, why don't we look at just some general numbers before we really get into what I want to kind of nail down. Caleb Williams was 33 out of 52 for 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The running game, non-existent. Roschon Johnson with the most rushing on 8 carries with 30 yards. Rome Odunze had a game. Shout out to Rome Odunze, man. Like, he is going to be part of the questions I have to ask later, but there's no doubt that kid has all the talents in the world. 6 receptions on 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Anthony Richardson, 10 for 20, 167 yards, 2 interceptions. We said it going into this game that he was going to give the Bears every opportunity to get the ball back. And that is what this defense did. But this defense was put in a situation which wasn't fair to them. A defense can bend only so much before it breaks. And 21 points is not a lot in this NFL. Right now, the way the season is in the NFL, the way teams are playing, the way some offenses are playing, it might be. But come late October, that is more than enough to win, to get over, to keep a team to 21 points, to keep somebody like Anthony Richardson to out of 10 to 20 for 167 yards and no touchdowns. Now, where the issue came was Jonathan Taylor, 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, big runs. And again, they just kept attacking that defense. That defense did their job. That defense did their job to keep Indy in check. And that offense has not carried its weight. It just hasn't. Now, you look at these numbers, that is a big game from Caleb. I mean, first of all, him throwing the ball 52 times, that is one of the questions I ask. When you look at a team that went against the Colts, who are a bottom-end team, I think one of the bottom 3 in the NFL when it comes to rushing defense, you can not do anything on the ground. You had 63 rushing yards in this game while giving up 150 total rushing yards. So my first question is, what exactly are you on offense? Because I saw you against Houston try to be quick passes, quick decisions. And then in this game, I see you attacking more, putting more pressure on the secondary. But knowing full well that this is a team you could run on, a game where you could get your running game going, put confidence in an offensive line that has been scattered, broken, and duct taped together, decided to throw the ball 52 times? Only 63 rushing yards? And then you decide on offense, the most opportune time to try to establish a run game is to run a run option on 4th down on the goal line, taking the ball out of the hands of the number 1 overall pick quarterback who would end up with over 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. What are you on offense? What is Shane Waldron? One of the benefit of the doubts that I gave Shane Waldron heading into this season was Well, he worked with Jackson Smith and Jigba. He worked with Tyler Lockett. He worked with DK Metcalf. He had Ken Walker. They had Geno Smith. Geno Smith had this renaissance in his career. So he's used to having all these weapons. But how much really was that of Shane Waldron? How much was that pro NFL players kind of making something work? These are questions that I'm wondering, that I'm asking strictly off this offense from what we've seen after 3 weeks. The play calling, the execution, when they are making these decisions. Why are you even questioning whether you have to go for a 2-point conversion when you're down? Knowing full well that if you convert that 2-point conversion, you can tie the game with a field goal. Now, that falls on Matt Eberflus, which brings me to question number 2. Why did you keep Matt Eberflus? I understand how volatile it is to just keep firing coach after coach after coach after coach. That is what bad teams do. You are a bad team. You have made good moves. There is optimism for your organization. You have still not done anything. This is, once again, such a Bears thing to do, like they did against the Eagles, where everybody pretended they were just going to go to the Super Bowl and never won a game. Didn't get out of the wild card, the divisional series. Divisional round, excuse me. I got baseball in the mind right now, too, because the Cubs eliminated from the playoffs. This organization decided that Matt Eberflus was good enough to be the head coach for Caleb Williams because the defense rallied around him. That defense was going to rally around anybody because they are a top-tier defense. It doesn't matter who the head coach is, who the defensive coordinator is. As long as you put him in a somewhat decent position, don't put him out there to hang out there to dry, or like what this offense does is not give him enough time to rest, they should be just fine. Because now this is what the big problem with question number 2 is. Why did you keep Eberflus? Because if it doesn't work, if you have to move on from him, if you have to move on from Shane Waldron after this season, if that is the case, just from the example we've seen from the start of this season and from Matt Eberflus, his entire tenure, you are doing what is most detrimental to a rookie quarterback and bringing in another head coach, another offensive coordinator, doing what you always do as an organization. Look, this could play out and I could look dumb a few weeks from now. We are taking this week by week, and with the information we have now, is what we can have implying for next week and next week's matchup. What I've seen is this team making really bad decisions from the front office to game time decisions. And that has been a constant with this regime, which brings me to question number 3. How much of this falls on Ryan Poles? Because the offensive line strictly falls on him. He decided, that is Poles, to invest in the offense, in Keenan Allen, who hasn't played a game yet. And we all knew, if you watch the NFL, if you play fantasy football, if you put any bets, picks, whatever, you know Keenan Allen is going to miss 3-4 games. But when he plays, he's a difference maker. He's great. Heck, Hall of Famer if you want to go there. That's a conversation you guys can all have. But you didn't address the biggest need, which was center. We knew the biggest need was center. Then we knew it was just the rest of the line. And you had to decide who you like, who you didn't. That's scouting, that's interpretation, and that's personal opinion. But you knew the center position specifically and the offensive line needed help. You also knew you needed more help with the pass rush for Montez Sweat. You kind of addressed that a little bit. But you ignored the offensive line. You brought in guys that would be depth players that became starters. You got guys that don't want to practice, guys that have never been in the league, trying to protect your number 1 pick, the number 1 pick, the guy that you want to carry your franchise for the next decade plus in the most important position in all of sports. You invest in wide receivers, you draft a wide receiver. And look, I'm not even, you know what? I'm not even going to hate, because we can all Monday morning quarterback and be like, oh, the Bears should have traded out from the Roman dudes they pick at number 9 and get offensive linemen and blah, blah, blah. I'm not mad with 1 and 9. What I am mad is Taylor's a good kid, good punter. Used a 4th-round pick on a punter when you needed offensive line help. You decided to give money to DeAndre Swift when you needed offensive line help. You decided to give money to 2 tight ends. I like Gerald Everett. I like what they've been able to put together in the offensive line. Look, Cole Kmet gets an extension. Didn't have any offensive line help. These are the questions that I ask Ryan Poles. How much does it fall on you? Because at the end of it, you constructed this roster. You constructed this draft season. You extended or gave Matt Eberflus another chance. And we're big in the hiring room of Shane Waldron. How much does it fall on Ryan Poles? And my final question after this game is, what are the expectations for the Bears moving forward? Because you have the LA Rams coming up next. And the Rams go and beat San Francisco, despite themselves having 2 offensive linemen on the IR, not having Puka, not having Kupp, finding ways to win or finding a way to win this game. Kieran Williams, they know how to run the ball. How do we evaluate this Bears season? What is that moving forward? Again, game by game. It's all you can do in this situation, right? You can't. I'm not going to start. I definitely not now. I'm going to start talking about October, November, December. I can only talk about next week and the next game. That's it. And that's against the Rams in Chicago. This defense is good enough again. They're going to keep the Rams to under 21 points. Does that seem possible for this offense to score over that? And I don't want to be super negative. There were things that were really good to say. I thought Caleb Williams had a good showing. Even with the 2 interceptions. Look at he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. But he can't call the plays. He can't put people in position. He can't scout, develop, trade for, sign, draft linemen. Because the guys with talent, like Rome, like DJ, like Caleb, are making plays. Or are trying out there. They have this sense of urgency. And I'm not saying that the offensive line is not trying hard, that they're not busting their ass. It's just not working. They're not talented enough. Even the guys that you do think have talent for the Chicago Bears on the offensive line just can't handle it. And you're asking a lot from your defense. Look, this defense is awesome. This defense is awesome. You're just asking a lot. And the offense has not done their part. So what is the evaluation for this season moving forward? We're going to talk about that here on the Sports Cubicle on Sports from the Couch. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. We are here post-game as the Chicago Bears fall to 1-2, losing to the Indianapolis Colts 21-16. And the Chicago Bears now have the LA Rams coming into town, the Carolina Panthers the week after that, and then a game in London against Jacksonville. So we don't even have to talk about Carolina because Andy Dalton and the Panthers go to Vegas and beat the Raiders. So the Raiders are, again, raidering things up. But the NFL is so crazy because the Raiders won the week before that against a team they're not supposed to beat. I think it's Ravens. And, yeah, is that a guarantee? That's no longer a guaranteed win. I remember because I'm a dum-dum. I know I am. I'm a sports meatball. I made the prediction doing the win-loss. You can't do that anymore. The Bears shouldn't be favorites in most matchups moving forward. In most of the matchups moving forward on their schedule, they shouldn't be favorites. So is this a playoff or bust season? Is this a development season? Is this a let's just close season? Because you have a defense good enough to make a playoff push. And on paper, you should have had an offense good enough to put up 21 points to be in games, but that hasn't come to fruition. I don't know. I don't know what the evaluation for this team is. What the expectations should be for this team. I think right now, just against the Rams and against the Panthers and against the Jaguars, before we even get to the Washington matchup, let's just you know what? Let's just stay with the Rams matchup. Be competitive. Have sustainable drives. Score touchdowns. That's what I want to see. You know what? Wins or losses are important, especially right now because you're in the rookie contract window with your quarterback, who's supposed to be one of the guys, right? If we're using that train of thought. Every season's important. You don't want to waste one. But right now, I'm just looking for competitiveness. And I'm looking for them to have an opportunity to win a game. I want to see the Bears have the ball for the last drive like they've had the last few weeks, score a touchdown and win a game. I want to see Caleb Williams be on all the national sports shows being the rookie quarterback, number 1 pick, Caleb Williams balls out, takes Bears to victory. I want to see that. I will take competitiveness. And I'll take every mistake the rookies make. What I can take is dumb neutral zone infractions that are happening that continue to drive that end in touchdowns that take the game out of hand on defense. Offensive linemen not playing smart, making dumb decisions and getting their quarterbacks killed and running backs blown up. And this running back room needs to do better. But I want to see competitiveness, and I want to see that. I think the ultimate dream, the only thing we all want to see right now is the Bears finish a drive at the end of the game and win it. But there's a lot to take from this game. There was a lot to take from this game. There's a lot of notes to take from this game. And, you know, those were the questions that I had. And we'll see if they answer those questions. But I also wanted to take a second and go onto social media and see what some of the experts were saying, because there was a lot of interesting thoughts, obviously, from the NFL world and everybody in between. And this is from Matt Bowen. Obviously, if you're here from Chicago, you know Matt Bowen is all over the radio. He's an NFL writer and analyst over at ESPN. He was a 7-year NFL veteran. He's a coach over in, I believe it's a high school football here in Illinois. So he's an awesome dude. He tweeted this out. There's 2 of them. Caleb Williams made some mistakes today. Also showed signs of improvement. Much more decisive as a thrower, which is true. We saw them pushing the envelope a little bit more, pushing it down the field, wanting to move the ball. So that is true. He also tweeted this, and this is the one I wanted to hit on. Waldron Bears have to find ways to manufacture rushing production. Formation, motion, alignment, personnel. Can't ask a rookie QB to attempt 50-plus passes. Tough to win like that in the pros. What else is there to say? You throw the ball enough, you're out there enough, you're going to get strip sacked from behind, and you're going to throw 2 interceptions. You're going to get sacked. Your offensive line is going to get exposed. Your defense is eventually going to break from all the bending it had to do the entire game carrying you. You can't run your offense the way Shane Waldron is. I'm not smart enough to tell you every exact place to run, but you just heard somebody who is. It's what we all been saying. Got to get creative. You got to help out your rookie quarterback. Because the Rams, sure as heck, are going to come into Chicago. They're going to think that they can get another victory, start a winning streak, and be in that divisional race that a lot of people counted them out just 48 hours ago. So they're gunning for Caleb Williams. So this is on Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, and Ryan Poles. Yeah, the players have to perform, and like we always do, we'll say what we see on television. You know, we understand how hard and how fast the sport is, and these are 101 percenters, and it's easy for us to commentate. We are never going to drag and dog any of these guys. But we're going to tell you what we saw and what we've seen and what we think needs to happen and what other people, smarter people than us, are saying. Because we're just fans watching this, and we see what we see. And we've seen right now that the guy that they brought in for the coach that was on a hot seat last year, that was gifted Ferraris and Corvettes in the number 1 and number 9 pick, bring in this guy, Shane Waldron. And now you're wondering, heading into the 4th game of the season, what the heck is he going to do to get this offense going and to protect and develop this rookie quarterback? The Chicago Bears fall to the Indianapolis Colts 21-16, now 1-2 into the season. They get ready for a matchup on Sunday, September 29th at Soldier Field against the LA Rams. It is the Rams. It is the Bears. It is a noon kickoff. We want to know your thoughts. What did you think about this loss? What disappointed you? What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you think about the season moving forward? We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV, at Couch Sports Talk. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, and Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. Make sure you're checking us out over at the mothership at heartlandsignal.com. Of course, WCPT 820 SoundCloud for the Sports Cubicle. We're on YouTube. Just look us up at the Sports Cubicle or wherever you get your favorite podcasts at Sports from the Couch. And thank you all so much for all the support you've given us for Lucha Dog the book and all the merchandise. Get it right now on Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Just search Lucha Dog, and of course at luchadog.com. We got a whole lot left on this edition of the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch. The Bears fall to the Colts 21-16, now 1-2 in this season. We got more coming up next here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.